Hi, this is Stephanie Pichet. I'm the editor and publisher of RCR News Media. And today we have the lovely and talented Dedee Pfeiffer, who's going to share with us not only her success, and if you're not watching Big Sky on ABC, shame on you, but also it's going to talk about, getting in the room because we want to share what it's like. It's not just all glamour as much as we like to think, but there is work and there are some great lessons to be learned when you're in the room with Dedee Pfeiffer. So,
Thank you for having
hi. Yeah, so great. First of all, congratulations on Big Sky. I love that show. That's the kind of show I like to watch anyway. And it's fun. Like every week, I'm like, what?
me. Yeah.
You know, don't want to do spoilers here for those who haven't watched. But how is it working on that show?
Well, first of all, I am so grateful to be working, period. Time where a lot of people are not working. It's such hard times, and especially with everybody and actors. And I just turned 57. I got a great gig. That's not always happens to women my age. And I disappeared for 10 years. So to come back and get this job is, I'm just so grateful. And it's a great show. And I think it's timely too, because people, I think, need a break at least
Hmm.
1 hour a week to check out. Unless you're binging it, then you get to check out a whole night. Um,
Right.
and it's a great show for that because we really take you on quite the journey. There's cliffhangers, it's emotionally charged, it's sexually charged, it's diverse. It's like you don't really know what's coming, so we're keeping you on the edge.
Hmm.
And I'm so grateful to be a part of that journey for 1 hour a week. Big Sky Tuesday nights, ABC.
Right.
Shame, I'm shameless.
No, definitely plug it. We're plugging it. We watch it. I'm like even on Twitter retweeting and liking all the posts, and it's a great show. You're right, for getting out of what's going on. But it also, and I hate to say I'm a few years older than you, also back to the time when I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada for college. And so I'd drive up because my friends that went to BYU would be, I'd go up there to go skiing up in Utah. So I would make that 8-hour drive for a weekend just one way. And one time I saw a guy on the side of the road next to a station wagon. Was late at night on that I-15, which doesn't have much, not a
Yeah.
lot around. And I'm so dumb. I stop. Oh, did you need help? The guy, it wasn't his car. He got in my car and I was taking him to the next exit. And watching Big Sky, I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And my father was a policeman. So let me tell you, if I would have told him, he would have killed me. But here I am. And it just brought back that, yeah, you need to really be careful, especially nowadays, on the road, those two young girls, and your car breaks down and you did something you shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
I love road trips, but I have to say now I'm like a little like, and I always tell my boys, you need to like go travel, you need to go on road trips. And now I'm like, wait, put a pause on that, put a pin in that. Because there's yeah, it's some crazy stuff out there. This show does get you thinking about a lot of things, actually.
It does, it does. And the mom who's complicit, I'm like, oh my
Well,
gosh.
there's dysfunctional parenting, and then
Right,
there's that.
right,
And that's in itself, it's very scary. And yet it's not scary the way you would think scary. It's just like,
right.
what is going
How's that?
on with
Yeah,
that relationship? And what that does with Ronald's character is it makes you sympathize with him, even though you kind of shouldn't be. It's like you
right.
want him to go to prison, but you also want to hug him.
Right, he needs the love,
It's like
right.
maybe hug him in prison.
And I think your character is the one that would give him that hug.
Yeah.
I
Thank
mean,
you. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah. I first of all, your character is super. I She's not flamboyant, and she's just there, reporting on the news. Yeah, I know the town gossip,
Yeah.
and not in a negative way, but you know what's going on with who, and it's funny to see your characters different input about different things, on each episode, and you're like, okay, well, that's odd that she knows the brother-in-law of, or the cousin, or
Like,
you know,
you're what? Well, I love it. The writer actually wrote, the town gossip is Denise's currency.
right? I saw that.
Love that because
Mm,
I had said and that could be a plus or a minus, negative or positive. And I
Right.
immediately viewed it as a positive. She uses that gossip as a way to create rapport and bring people together, maybe jump in when she probably shouldn't, just to try to repair maybe a conflict or what have you. So she's not like that nosy neighbor who really, is annoying. She's actually the opposite. I think she uses that as a way to be like a mama bear. She's
Hmm.
like a den mother. I like
Right.
to call her the rock of this agency. I'm the rock, and they're like butterflies, and they're flying out there being detectives and getting into trouble and pushing the
Right.
barriers, and come back and land on the rock
Hmm.
to regroup, to reset, to go back out and do it again. And
Right.
yeah,
Right. And but it's interesting how you come up with the little pieces as they're trying to build their theories and figure out who, you come up with a piece of information. They're like, oh, that, plugs in, and that helps the story, weave all the importance of all the characters and what's going on and the nuances between the characters. Because if everybody was a badass woman on that show, I mean, not saying you're not a badass, but you don't need your fists or a
there's
gun.
different levels and different colors of that. I think with Denise, the way I think she's a badass is
Right.
that she's one of the older characters, so she's grounded, been there, done that, been around the block. She's
Right.
50. I'm
Right.
57, so I'm playing a younger woman. I love it. So she's lived a lot. I'm playing her as she's in recovery. She's sober. I mean, I have this whole storyline. People don't even really know what's going on with Denise, but
Mhm.
I think that helps ground her in a way that's where she's solid. Is that
Right.
she's got both feet planted on the ground. But I also really love the writers always give my character the lines that the audience is thinking.
Mhm.
Denise says it, and I
Right.
love that. Like I have
Mhm.
this one line, actually, I can say it because it's in the trailers this week, where this doctor is going on and on and on and on and on with all this medical jargon. And when Dedee was reading the script, I remember thinking, what the hell is he talking about? And immediately Denise said, what is he blathering on about? And I went, exactly. So she gets to say what a lot of times the audience is thinking, and that's super fun. So it's
Right.
like she's on your side of it, and she does go in, and she like every good patchwork, she has her thread that runs through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's amazing. But you didn't get to be this talented
Oh.
overnight. You've had a little bit of a career before you disappeared for those 10 years. Tell us about what got you into the business of show.
Ah, well, let's make this a short story because I could be here
Okay.
all day to tell you the whole. Well, I started when I was 18. I'm
Mhm.
57. That's a long story, so I'm going to bring that in. So when I do have to back up. When I was really young, which was what, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I was working. I mean, illegally, no work permit. We didn't. Child labor was like whatever. All I
Back
knew
then.
was if I wanted something in my house, I had to earn it. Like that's how my dad raised us all. Is
Mhm.
you want something, you earn it. No one's going to give you anything. And we were a middle to low income family. Mom didn't drive, 4 kids, and so I had to start working really early. So I had every odd job you can imagine. But so by the time I was 18, I was like, I had worked so much.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, what am I going to do now? So my sister was on doing Scarface. And I never forget, I drove up to LA and I was like, I think I want to try this thing called acting. And she's like, oh, if you want to try this thing called acting, get in an acting class. Don't think about headshots. Don't think about an agent, manager, nothing. Just get into an acting class first to see if it's anything you even like. Well, I
Right.
got into an acting class and I was horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. I went up on my lines. I was stuttering. I was so shy. I was a nervous wreck. And they were like, oh my God, this is Michelle Pfeiffer's sister. This is a nightmare. But I didn't give up because it was kind of like if I would have given up, I would have lost. It's like I had to master it before I could walk away from it.
Mhm.
And I just never got it. So I kept going and going, going and going. And eventually, 2 years, finally got an agent, got some headshots, went out there, tanked interviews left and right, and stumbled into it. And to this day, I got to tell you, I still don't feel like I really mastered anything, really. I'm still learning, I'm still discovering. I still watch my work and go, are they sure they didn't mean to give this role to that other actress behind me? Still not always convinced that I'm, well, what you said was, talented. I don't know if I would put that with my name, which makes
Oh.
me hungry. It makes
Mhm.
me constantly working and never complacent, never take anything for granted. And I think that's really important in life. The minute you think you have all the answers, I think you're kind of dead. You're kind of done. What's the point of waking up in the morning if you have all the answers?
Right.
That's not
Sure.
exciting to watch or want to, So, yeah. So, yeah, 30 plus years later, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, I think it's important to, you know, be real with yourself
Yeah.
and recognize, what you're doing today, you can improve on, right? Just like me and like anyone else, we can get better. And but we have to be realistic and know I need to be better. I want to be better. And I
Yeah.
think that also shows in your work because it does get better as you're, especially we've interviewed like a lot of Disney kids, 10 years ago. And as they're growing up, you're seeing, how that talent, how they were shy or maybe, not as bright of a star, but they had a sparkle and now they're shining, right? So it's a process. I mean, whether it takes 5 years or 50 years, I think that staying and any job you have, as long as you stay on top of that extra training and what's the latest, because tomorrow we may, it's motion capture, right? That you may have to do, and that's training. I mean, there's different areas, voiceovers. I mean, there's a lot of things that it don't just come because you acted on a movie, right? And you don't have to worry about it again. And you're right, then it begins to show when you're not staying, honing your craft, as they say, I guess. So that you're not staying on top of those workshops or those fun things. And it's amazing how many actors I talk to that do plays and do, off camera. People are like, wow, they're doing a play or they wrote a play or they don't necessarily have a view into the room of what an actor's world is about. And it's not always on screen.
Yeah. 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 Well, I always call it there's an actor's actor and there's an artist actor.
Mm.
Yeah. Artist actors have a tendency to do the work and it has something to do with the paying the bills. Actors usually don't like
Yes.
that very well. We'll take something because the role is so amazing, but it's like an independent and no one will probably ever see it. But you're like, I have
Mhm.
to do this, yeah. So
So, what was your favorite, not your current, because that's your favorite, right?
yeah,
What was
yeah.
your favorite
Denise
project?
actually is my favorite so far. Yeah, because she's so fun. Yeah.
Mhm,
My favorite role I played so far, other than Denise.
mhm.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna probably have to. Gosh, have you seen my resume? I've been
I,
around. I've been doing a long
I,
time.
I've seen it. That's why I'm asking because I can't pick a favorite.
Yeah. It's a cross between this little small independent film called The Tub. I did.
Right.
Um, but then I also really like this other independent where I played this girl named Franny. She was just so great. But then I gotta say, I'm gonna probably have to say, believe it or not, there's no such thing as a small actor. No, no,
Mhm.
or small
Small
roles.
role, right?
Falling Down, yeah, Sheila, in Michael Douglas's
Right.
Falling Down, because there was such a story behind making that. I was waiting for my set call. The riots broke out. Literally
Oh, okay.
waiting for my set call. We were
Wow.
supposed to go downtown and shoot that scene right
Wow.
where the riots were. I drove a Bronco. I was a little,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was like, I called the AD, go, are you watching the news? And I go, are we still going to work tomorrow? He's like, yeah. I'm like, have you seen the news? It's World War III down there. And he's like,
Right.
oh, well, no one's called it off yet. I'm like, well, you may have to find another whammy burger girl because I'm not sure. I drive a Bronco, dude. I'm not going
Right.
down there, you know? So weeks later, almost months later, we went down there to shoot it after the riots kind of calmed down and we had the
Right.
National Guard around us and it was quite an experience. Tempo had changed. The
Mm.
whole temperature on the movie was very different because the movie was
Right.
actually about what happened. If you really,
Right. Right. Yeah.
very as a woman, as a person, I was young then too, without children at that point, just
Mhm.
going through that. But I'll just never forget when Joel Schumacher gave me that role because I read for something else on a TV series called
Mm.
Malibu 1000 or something. I read for that and he gave that role to Drew Barrymore. Thanks, Drew. I was up by all those girls. And so Drew got that, but I think, but he liked me, so he gave me this small role in this film
Uh-huh.
called Falling Down. So I was
Right.
like, There's no such thing as a small role. So I got so excited. But I'll tell you, I went to the wardrobe fitting and I thought, I'm going to be in a movie with Michael Douglas. And then they put this hamburger on my head. The wardrobe
Well, he
fitting.
gets hungry.
I was the polyester net. And I was like, wait a minute. I finally score a role. I get to be in a movie with Michael Douglas and Barbara Hershey and all these amazing, talented actors. And I'm going to be sitting there with a hamburger on my head. Luckily, my training set me up for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some work to do on this Sheila character. So it was actually really funny. So it actually helped my performance that Sheila, who hates her costume and thinks she's Bonnie, waiting for, this is all my internal story, waiting for Clyde to come into the room,
okay.
save her from this horrendous life that she lives. And she hates her boss, right? So when Michael Douglas comes in, my character in me goes, oh, I think Clyde just came in, you know. So he pulls the gun out.
Right.
She's like, he's really Clyde, you know. So it was and they didn't know what I was going to do with the role because it was just written as a girl who just wouldn't give him breakfast because it was 1 minute after.
Right. I remember that.
That was it. But I created this whole internal life, and Michael Douglas and Joel Schumacher, they loved it. And so it was a really great experience for a lot of different reasons. And then they ended up using that little role with me with the hamburger on my head in the trailers. I never got more press in my life than I did with a hamburger on my head. And that was fun. Yeah, I'll wear that hamburger any day again.
Wow. I wouldn't share that secret too wide because now everybody's going to bring a hamburger head to the set and try to get that.
It goes to show you gotta just take everything that comes your way and like here we go. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're doing this Zoom thing. Otherwise, I would be hopefully like somewhere with you in person.
Right.
Take those lemons and make lemonade, you know? And so if I hadn't had that hamburger on my head and that nasty polyester, unflattering uniform, I wouldn't have had to probably work so hard to find this life with this girl, Sheila, this internal life that just radiated through the lines and gave Michael Douglas, and he was looking at me, what is this girl doing? Even more funny and absurd considering what he was going through at the time in his life the stories got more and more absurd. So of course Sheila is like, oh hi, and he's
part
like,
of it.
Who are you? You got a hamburger on your head.
Right. And that's that's a good lesson to learn because I think a lot of people, especially starting out actors, they're looking for that big role that's going to give them the big break and they're going to be a star. And the more actors that we interview, they're like, you're in it for the wrong reason. You're in it to be that character, to be the best character for that moment that the director says action, right? So you really can't live your life thinking you're going to be that big star. I mean, it's great to put it out there for intention, right? I want to be successful, but embracing those small roles are as important as the big ones.
Well, this is why I love Denise. Everyone's like on my Instagram, they're like, oh my God, you need more screen time. You need more scenes. And I'm like, oh honey, no, I really don't. I love that Denise is there. It's kind of like your mom. She's there. You don't call her all the time. Braxton and Maximus, my boys. But she's there. You don't need to see her every day. You don't talk to her every day. You don't need this. My conversations with my boys are, I go, hey, how you doing? You eating? Yeah. Are you in the middle game? Yeah. Okay. Love you too. But I click. Okay. Right. And that's kind of Denise, making sure that she's there. She's there. She's not going anywhere. And I like the fact that you do want to see more of Denise. That's part of the show.
Right.
You do cliffhangers. Denise, we tease you with her. You don't know at any point who's going to die on this show because we're all, listen, on this show, nobody is safe.
Right.
I got to tell you, I've been doing this for, I don't know, 3 decades plus. I've never been on a show where literally, I don't know what's happening. In every script, I'm the first to know when I read the script.
Right.
And that can change, by the way.
But see, you know too much because you know the town gossip.
Well, she knows what I know. And all I know is, like I'll call it, like one of the other cast members go, did you read this week's script? What the heck is going on with that? They're like, I know, really? I'm like, oh my God, the audience is going to lose their mind. So we're mind blown by some of the turns that this show.
Right.
came back last week.
Right. I know.
Got some more stuff for you guys. So hang on,
Mhm.
buckle up. It's a bumpy ride. And just know that nobody is safe in this cast. We set that up from the pilot, and that's all I'll say about that in case you haven't seen
Mhm.
the show.
Oh
After
no, yeah,
the pilot, oh, they ain't playing. Nobody's safe.
right. And that's a fun show right now. I mean, if you look at others, they're more safe and you can kind of figure out. I mean, it's like going to the movies with somebody and they're sitting next to you and either asking you what happened, why did that happen, or the other person on the other side, no, oh, I bet they do this, and I saw that Easter egg, or I saw, and you're like, nah, I just want to focus.
Mhm.
And and Big Sky is one of those shows that you need to focus, because sometimes I'll be doing something else watching a show.
Yeah.
My phone is not in my hand. Even though they want you to tweet something, I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I have to stay focused because there's some insane twists that
Yeah.
I, who like to think I know, don't find.
These little nuances that
Hmm.
you kind of have to be watching for. That if you miss it, I mean, we'll help remind you, but it's better if you caught it the first time.
Right.
And I can't really go. I can't say
No,
more.
don't no spoilers. But it's what's good is now, unlike when we were kids, if you missed the episode,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
Right, wait for reruns in the summer, right?
Yeah. Well, we had two channels, and my
Right,
dad, and my mom always had the TV, so
right. Yeah,
not
if
scared with the aluminum foil. That was to try to get that third channel, just
right.
in hopes to get it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but now you can either bank all the episodes and binge them at once and stay off social media so you're not getting the spoilers.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
There's yeah, there's all that. See, I just started social media first time in my young life
Ooh.
on this show because I was very resistant, which is kind of
Mhm.
worked for me. My boys are not really into it. I mean, they are and they're
Oh,
not, which is good because I
that's good. Oh no, that's
really been a negative influence on a lot of people's lives, especially
mhm.
teenagers, and they're 15 and 18. So because I was never into it, I could barely turn the computer on before I went to college. That they really didn't. So
Mm,
now I started the show, and they asked me to do one of the things of. So I think that Twitter is kind of mean. So
right.
I
You're on Instagram, right?
I only do Instagram, and it's
Right.
really fluffy. It's only about the show and like my rescued cockatoo or rescued
Right.
dog or rescued cat or me doing silly videos with the Canadian seagull out there named Skipper and
Oh,
Gilligan, who are my friends.
right. Yeah, and you know what? That's a nice way just to, keep the fans, because they do like to look what's going on, and that's those social shares are fun because you can control them and not be on a platform like Twitter that can be really mean and take off in really mean ways, right?
I don't do mean.
Yeah.
I don't want to support her or And I gotta say, I have to say something. I just love my fans. I've had these fans that have followed me from like 30 years ago, and they are so sweet. I just want to say a shout out to my fans. I love them. I took off for 10 years to get a degree, came back, and they were like, "You're back." Oh, Dee Dee. And I was like, oh my God, you are so, I like want to find all of them and give them hugs, kind of like
After COVID.
after COVID, yeah. But like even my sister had said, you have really sweet fans. I go, I
Mm.
know, I really do. They're like really nice people. And the fact that they still followed me even though when I disappeared. And one guy even said, thank you for doing social media. And I was like, I'm still trying to figure out how to like it.
Right.
I unfollowed somebody. I didn't mean to do that. And
Oh, oops.
I always go, please don't take anything I do personal because I really still don't know what I'm doing. And my boys are like, my mother's on social media. Boys, they're like, Mom, you be nice.
Mhm.
So I can get really mouthy.
So let's talk about the time period you were off getting a degree, which I understand you just completed it as the the show was ramping up, right?
I got to tell you, Mother Earth really works in mysterious ways. God bless this beautiful planet we live on. As you can tell, I just ooze full of, I'm so grateful to be alive because I have a lot of things to be grateful for. One is I put myself through college for the first time in my life 10 years ago. So what is that? I'm 57. So like 40 something, 10 years ago.
Okay. Right.
And that was because I hit a point in the industry where I felt like I was raising these two boys, teenage boys on my own. And I felt like the industry, which I had been so loyal to, wasn't really being that loyal back, wasn't getting jobs. When I was getting so underpaid. I was taking anything I could just to keep my health benefits for my children. And it just wasn't balancing out. And I noticed men could age and it was sexy. And then women were aged. And it was like unemployable for you. You can't do good like get a job or get the stretch thing. And listen, I'm not above all that stuff. Listen, there's a reason why I'm wearing this. Okay, I'm not above it. I just started thinking, wow, what am I saying to my boys? Like, and how am I going to deal with this? But I also was always doing volunteer work, constantly worrying about social welfare issues. I was the little kid walking up the driveway with the stray cat, dog, and yes, a duck. I rescued them all. Story, a duck. I was always rescuing that. And when I moved to LA, I started rescuing people. I was always picking up homeless, trying to find their homes. Yeah, I discovered that they didn't have a home, which that's a whole nother story. So long story short, I started looking around the world and I started seeing a lot of stuff. I was like, wow, I want to help on another level other than just volunteering. And the industry was kind of like not being so loyal. I have these two boys. I want to show, not tell, what it means to take your life by the huevos and say, I'm getting off the 405 and I'm going to get on the 10 freeway. Watch me go. And I did that. I had the support of my family, my friends. My agent weren't very happy. But I went to school and I literally walked up to a community college and said, hi, I want to help people. And they're like, hi, okay. What degree? I go, I don't know. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, well, you tell me, what degree do I need to help people? And they're like, no, that's not how this works. You tell me and then I'll help get the classes.
Right.
Are you trying to be a psych major? I go, okay, that sounds good. So I just got some classes and went towards the trajectory of like a psych major. Right. And I looked into forensics and some other areas of where I could be the most effective. And along the journey, which took me a long time because I had two kids in tow, I couldn't do full time. I had to grab classes when I could. I went year round because I couldn't do the 12 units, so I'd do like, was it 9 and then grab one in summer and another 9 and grab one in winter and just went year round. So my boys can, I had to take them everywhere. Right. And I also learned that I had a learning disability. I had a whole bunch of learning disabilities that made me, when I was kind of told that I was basically stupid growing up. And it wasn't until I hit college, in the community college, a professor said, you need to get assessed. And I did. And then she's like, actually, you're really bright. You just have these learning disabilities. So I went through my entire life until my 40s thinking I was stupid. Right. So college did a lot of things for me. So I started down that road. It took 10 years to get 4 years to get my AA, my bachelor's of psych, again, at community college, 2 years, and then 3 years at UCLA to get my master's of social work. 3 years to do a 2-year degree because I took a year off for to take care of my my health. I'm in recovery. I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And this is the first time I've said that in an interview, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you for trusting us to receive that information, and congratulations.
It's important that other people know that it happens, and there's a lot of shame around it. And I want to be the person that says, hey, hi. You ask anyone on the set, I'm like, hi, Dedee Pfeiffer here. How are you guys? I'm in recovery. And they're like, oh my God, why is she yelling that? I'm like, because it's important that we stop making that a bad thing.
Right. And stop stigmatizing it.
Yeah.
Right.
To have people come up to me and go, I'm 15 years sober. And I go, what are you whispering? Right. 15 years is fucking amazing. I have almost 3. I'm a baby at this. You have 15? I take my hat or my happy hair off to you. So anyway, so along the journey, I got sober. This is another reason why I embrace being grateful for being alive every day. A lot of people in recovery don't make it. Right. And I'm blessed that I am. And so I got my social worker degree. And it was in my internship, my last year at UCLA, when David, my brother-in-law, E. Kelly, who we're not Redoubt. We're not on Redoubt. Okay. He's my brother. I love him. He loves me. We see each other at the holidays. Right. That's it. Right. He picked on me out of nowhere. Here, you still acting? I have a really great role for you. I was at the Department of Mental Health finishing my last internship. Here's the beautiful part. He had no idea that at that point I was about to graduate
Mhm.
and not know how I was going to support my children because social workers they start with
Right.
50,000.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And I had no idea in LA how I was going to survive. After 10 years, I was kind of broke. I had to
Right.
sell, my house and all that to pay back my loans and what have you. And I
Mhm.
had no idea how I was going to make it work. But I knew as long as I stayed in recovery and didn't listen to the noise, right?
Mhm.
That and believe that good is more powerful than bad, that
Right.
there was going to be a way. And he had no idea. He threw me a lifeline when he asked me
Oh.
to do this show. Like, so now I graduated doing the show, and now I'm a social worker um, on Big Sky. And one day I want to bridge my degree and
Mhm.
fan base together and help people on a larger scale. That's my goal.
I think that that is an amazing goal, and I can only imagine how you're going to bring joy to other people that need that that feeling of relief that there's somebody that cares enough. You know, my brother lives up in Utah and has gone to school to be a social worker.
Oh,
He had, yeah, he had a ski and snowboard shop, and in the back he built a skateboard, thing with little ramps for the neighborhood kids, so he could foster, a community and support, because there were a lot of disenfranchised
yeah.
kids that were out there. And so I understand that compassion, and that takes a special person to do that, and that's amazing. Just
It's funny because when we say social worker, first thing comes to mind. Someone said to me, "Why do you want to be somebody who takes kids out of people's homes?" I said, "Well,
mm,
first of all, I'm not working with kids. Number one,
mm,
social workers, we do a lot of things. We work
right.
on macro, meso, and micro level,
Hmm.
policy, communities, individual. That degree is so diverse. My
Right.
area of concentration is homeless, substance use, and mental illness.
Mm,
18 years and older. I don't even work with children, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm a mama bear.
mhm.
I would be jailed. I They would be like, okay, the social worker hit me in the face, and I'd be like, you don't hurt kids."
Right. Right.
There's other people who are much better at that than me. I'm way too hot headed. I'm more effective with the older population um,
Hmm.
than in kids because I'm too protective. I'm way too mama bearish.
Right. I one of my friends who I've known probably, I'm going to say 12 years or so, he's on YouTube, and his YouTube channel is Invisible People. And he used to be in Hollywood. He used to work in the industry, and then became homeless and was a drug addict, and found himself in a place where, he turned his life around, and is now helping other homeless people. And I want to say he has millions of views a month of his stories, because he's trying to bring that, the attention that they need, and understanding.
Yeah.
Is that also the stigma of being homeless? It's like it's their fault. And there's so
You're
many
alcoholic. It's not my fault. It's like
right,
nobody
right,
wakes up in the morning and says, "Hey, I want to be homeless. Hey, I want mental illness, schizophrenia,
right,
bipolar. Hey, I want to be an alcoholic, a meth head, eating
right,
disorder, depression."
right.
I mean, nobody wakes up and says, "This sounds like a good idea. This sounds like a great way to live my life." And
Hmm.
yet we treat it as if they have a choice.
Right, right. Where we lived by the 405 and Venice Boulevard before he left. Yeah.
My good friend works that area in that in homeless population there.
Right. And there's underneath that overpass, there's like 50 people living there. And in the summer, especially, my son and I would take cases of water
Yeah.
and food over. And I can't even tell you, this one time, this one guy, I- he just looked at us like he was going to not live another day if he didn't have,
Yeah.
sustenance, in just in a small way. And so humbling to, be standing there and having something for them, here, let me help you. And then it was almost like every week, every time we would drive by him, if he's still there, I have to go back and help him, because he had, out of the 50 people that were there, he was off even by himself, so he was alone,
Yeah.
while there was, other people that had built kind of a community
Yeah.
amongst themselves, right, to support each other. And just it's just terrible to see that happening to people and breaking them and trying to build them up. And it's just, I applaud you for that compassion and that focus on where we need help. And adults, especially after COVID, all the other people that are finding themselves, in a bad place,
Yeah.
mentally. I think that if you have the strength mentally, you can then overcome the physical types of things. But a lot of people don't even have that foundation.
Yeah. Like addiction, we have a tendency to look at things, there's upstream and downstream perspectives. I won't get into that. It's a whole way we were taught of the lens you would use. But let's just say you can use addiction as a good example. And homelessness is it's the same thing. If you're cutting the weed at the top, you're not looking at the root, the why.
Right.
You could take someone off the streets and give them an apartment. I could pay for it. You could pay for it. Whatever. Well, actually, I can. I'm kind of broke. But anyways, I'm still paying back
Right.
loan debt. But we could do that.
Mhm.
First, you have to understand the bigger picture, the
Mhm.
why the person landed there, and that's almost always some trauma that was
Mhm.
never assessed and treated, or it was trauma, but that was it, and or the treatment wasn't effective. It
Mhm.
can't get to trauma unless if there's an addiction hanging around as well. So you got
Mhm.
to kind of deal with the addiction and then the trauma. These are really painful things to do by themselves, but together are really hard. And not a lot of people actually know how to treat these things effectively. And then you have to ask yourself, do they even have access to that care?
Right.
Like, right, just because they might have access to the Department of Mental Health, depending on what city it is and county and
Mhm.
community. These systems are old. Let me say that their systems are kind of old and broken, and they need some facelifts, like some people I know. And that's one thing I actually want to start advocating for, is just to look at that. And it's like, and this doesn't mean a lot of money. It's just bringing new brains in, people that new thoughts. It's kind of like I was saying, if you're still doing the same thing for 40, 50 years,
Mhm.
you're not moving and growing with the times.
Right.
So it's like the same thing with an addict. If you don't get to the why they're using,
Mhm.
you don't ever get to that why and treat the why, you're looking at a relapse. Because you can get anybody sober. You can get anybody from stop using their drug of choice. You can take the person off the streets and put them in an apartment. But then there's so many factors. There's also the transition.
Mhm.
Um, if I just took you out of your home and put you somewhere else, don't you think you'd be a little jarred, whether it's
Right.
a better environment or not?
Right.
So there's just a lot of factors and nuances that need to be looked at.
Mhm.
So we need to start looking at it a little differently. It just means training people differently, getting these people who are trained in this,
Mhm.
in those
Mhm.
places where they can be effective.
Right.
So there's a lot of layers that go on. A lot of work we get to do, but you're absolutely right. After the pandemic, we have a lot of work to do. There was a lot of work before that, but now it's going to be even more. I
Right.
think that you go and give them water. I think it's what human beings, we can't live alone, by the way. I mean, we're not monks who live by yourself on a mountain.
Mhm.
People need people.
Mhm.
To what
Mhm.
extent? You can have that conversation, right?
Right.
And there's a difference between enabling and helping.
Mhm. Right.
Someone thirsty, that's not enabling them.
No. No. Right.
Hungry, that's not enabling them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of the judgment, oh, I don't want to give you money because then you're going to buy more drugs. That's like the number one thought I think a lot of people have when
Yeah.
they see someone homeless. Um, here after leaving Los Angeles, we're in New Mexico, and um, I want to say December, I guess it was. We were driving, and there was a gentleman nicely dressed,
Yeah.
and he had lost his job. He's trying to keep his family afloat, and he had a sign. I need help for my family,
Yeah.
and where these are the types of things where showing respect by, hey, let me help you, even if it's a dime. These respect, I think, of the human condition is something that
Yeah.
you're not seeing a lot of, especially with homeless people, because they don't know your story, they don't know what happened, why you're there. And it's interesting because my friend in his Invisible Peoples channel, he sometimes he says it will take him 20 times seeing that person before they'll even trust him to talk to him. And he has a sponsor. I want to say it's Hanes socks. The Hanes, the company that makes socks, and underwear and all that. They send him socks. So when he goes out, he's handing a pair of socks, trying to just, hear more about them and treat them and help elevate them. Because mentally, you may be perfectly mentally fit, but then find yourself homeless. And what's the first thing that, your brain is working against you the whole time, right? It's like feeding you terrible things. And so then on top of that, you have the pandemic. And then on top of that, you have families at home and their kids are, everybody's on each other's nerves. And it's a tough thing to have to go from being outside and social and doing all these things and then being home. And the amount of mental health issues now we're going to see are going to be even greater, right?
Oh yeah, like my boys are in LA, and I'm here, and I have to keep reminding them and myself. If somebody has written the pamphlet and the direction manual on how to deal with a pandemic or how to feel during a pandemic, can you pass it this way? Because I need to read it. I'm like, really, we're writing it as we go. So I say to my boys and my friends, whatever you're feeling, it's right. Because we're going through a pandemic and there's nothing fun about this or easy, and our norms are thrown up in the air, and we're discovering what it means we're looking at entitlement too. I'm entitled, so pandemic doesn't affect me, so I don't need to do the things they're asking us to do. And then those where actually you've seen people. I lost a friend to COVID, so it's like, and he died alone. That's
a terrible way.
That's so messed up. I can't imagine choking and not being able to breathe. Oh my God, right? So, but others, I think there's a little bit of that. Well, if it doesn't affect me personally, then it doesn't really exist, kind of thing.
Right.
That's okay. It's not okay, but that's what that is. But I say to my boys, whatever you're feeling any given day, it's okay. It's okay. Just lean into it. Don't run from it. Don't deny it. Just lean into it. And you're gonna have good days, bad days, and some days you're just gonna be off and you don't know why. Maybe it's because you can't see your friends and you're a teenager and that's what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like to go on a darn date, but that ain't happening either. You know what I mean? I like to go out to a museum in Canada. I'm not doing that because that would just be really inappropriate and dangerous. And if I bring COVID to the set, Big Sky falls down. It shuts down for 2 weeks. So I'm not going to be that jerk and do that. So I don't see anybody other than when I go to the set or when I go get tested 3 days a week. And that's a drive. I drive in, I put my head out, they back up, and I go back to my back. It's like I say, it's not fun. Isolation is really not good for the psyche. It's not good for the soul. It's not good for the person. And I think this is why Zoom and calling people and making friends with Canadian seagulls and naming them. And you look on my Instagram, you'll see I have little stories about Gilligan and Skipper, and I make up these stories because it makes me laugh.
Right.
It makes anybody else laugh, but I enjoy. It keeps me sane, and people are like, "You're nuts," and I go, "Being nuts keeps me from jumping off the balcony." And plus, the seagulls. Yeah, I got in trouble here. They asked me to stop feeding them.
Yeah, we got in trouble for feeding pigeons. So.
Started with pigeons, and then it went to ravens. And Honeycutt and Jack and Kenny, my pigeons. Then it went to my ravens, big black gorgeous raven. Thor, Rachel, his wife, and 2 kids, Rachel Jr. and Thor Jr. Then it went to my seagull, Gilligan, whose friend Skipper came along, and then Gypsy and Gangsta.
And they all know that you're feeding them.
This is like skyscrapers over here. They're watching this crazy woman, me, go out there every morning and have this conversation and my coffee with these seagulls. And they're like, "Can you ask her to stop that?" Because there's like all this drama. So they really like me here because I'm nice, but they're also like, "You need to stop that." And I said, "Well, but they keep me sane." And they're like, "Can we compromise?" So now when they're out there squawking, I go out there going, "Shh." You're getting me in trouble. Yeah. You know someone's videotaping me going, look at this crazy woman over there. She's like talking to these seagulls. She's telling them shush and they're squawking. This is what we do to get through a pandemic when you're isolated. Is
Exactly.
how about this? This is what you do. Anything you possibly can to keep yourself from going insane. Whatever that looks like, it's okay. Right?
Yep. My son named the first two of 40 pigeons that came to our backyard feeder, Mario and Luigi.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And then we started getting more and more, and the neighbors were like, would look at us over the fence, and we're like, oh, I wonder if we'll get in trouble. And then when we started getting 40, we thought, oh, okay, we should cut, because, residential neighborhood, people probably not.
Yeah, I'm like in the 5th floor here, and there's all these balconies, and they wait on other balconies for me to feed them. So they're
Oh,
on everybody else's balcony, and that's why I got in trouble. And I was like, but they love me. And they're like, yeah, but your neighbors don't love you anymore. And I'm
but
like, I'll go clean up the bird poo. I'll clean it up. And they, well, we can. It's COVID.
what's funny is Mario and Luigi still come every day just to see if we have the food out.
Yeah, Gilligan's there whether I have food or not.
Right.
He stares at me. I stare at him. And then I stare at him. He stares at me. I go, they're stalking. It's
Right.
stalking. I have a video of, actually look at my Instagram. There's a video of me going like this. And then I go, stalker.
Okay, I have to check
He's
that
like
out.
looking at me. And I'm like, stalker. Welcome to getting through a pandemic. Anything to help you from going in the rabbit hole of depression.
Right.
That can look different for everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
But people go,
That's
read a book. I'm like, you read a book. I just got 10 years of college. I'm not going to read again for the rest of my life. And I'm not going to do research anymore ever again.
right.
I'm
Yeah, that
learning.
exactly. It's how you're getting through the pandemic, and everybody's different. But our mental health is definitely something that we need more self-care on, I think.
It's hard. Self-care for me is something I had to learn, and to this day, it's really hard. My self-care looks like helping, like cleaning and feeding up after these birds out there. That's my life. I'm like such a mama bear, right? People go, oh well, you're getting, I say I'm not getting in trouble. They're asking me just to cool it. But I'm like, and little do they know, this is keeping me sane. It might be
Right.
annoying to them. So there's an interesting perspective. The next time you tell your neighbor to stop feeding 4,000 doves or pigeons, maybe that's sufficing some kind of, it's making their dopamine and serotonin and all those feel good chemicals in our brain expand and produce that
Right.
makes you live longer and you feel better, versus the cortisol, which is the stress hormone.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
counter that for a minute, because trust me, once you go away from those birds, you get to go back to real life, and
Right.
the shit's sitting there waiting for you to get you stressed out.
Exactly.
Put the news on. That's pretty stressful, right?
Right.
So it's interesting because, so again, it goes back to that kind of like, we do kind of need to be a little more mindful of everybody else. And this is hard. We are isolating. We are, well, those of us who are trying to do the right thing.
Right.
So you're doing crazy things.
Right.
My boys are doing way too much electronics, but guess what they're also doing? They're connecting with their friends on those electronics.
Right.
Like, do it.
Right.
Otherwise, if I tell them to shut it down, they're sitting there staring at me, the rescue dog, the rescue cockatoo, the rescue cat. They're each other. They're teenagers, so that. But when they're online with their friends, I hear them laughing. They're joking. They're having a good time. They're killing each other, whatever that game they're playing. I'm not sure.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Right. I'm like, oh, good, honey, you killed your friend. Whatever. What do you want for dinner? But right. And so at this point, we got to weigh it out. And it's like I said, we'll deal with that later. When we're through the pandemic and there's some sort of normalcy, we'll start looking at isolation again. We'll start looking at what it means to regroup and get back into the world again, because even when I got out of quarantine, I wasn't in a big rush to leave because there was really nowhere to go.
Right.
It's crazy. Because I just,
Right.
kind of used to now being alone. At first, I really hated it. Now I'm like, well, this is what it is, until I get to go to the set to see people. And even then, I only see a few people at a time, and we're all masked up, and I don't know what they look like in real life anyways.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
A, B, and C bubbles. We don't ever all work together.
Right.
It's very small groups of people. that's what we're, yeah.
Right. Well,
That's what we do to be safe and bring you guys Big Sky
and
Tuesday night,
on
ABC.
ABC.
Shameless plug again.
Exactly. I love that. So I'm not going to get into any more about the show because I have like 50 questions to ask. Like how many seasons are there going to be? You know, is this a limited series? No, just kidding. It's just the type of show that I think we all need to fall into and try to figure out. And it's so engaging. The cast are great. And it's one of those things that we all need as part of, you know, the escapism that television and movies bring us, right?
Yes.
And it's been wonderful talking to you about this show. Now, dare I ask, do you have any other feelers or any other things coming up outside of this? No, you're just
Girl,
present.
I didn't even have an agent before I got this. So
Okay.
guess what? I still don't got an agent. I have this beautiful, sweet manager named Brandon. I've known him forever. And when I decided to go to school, I lost my manager at the time in my agency. Understandably, they were like, I said I would still read for little things in between,
Right.
like trying to get my degree and raise my children. And they were like, unless you're 100%, we can't really
Sure.
represent you. I respected that. It hurt my feelings. I'm not going to lie. But I was like, okay. But then I had this friend who was a manager who said, I'll represent you. And if I'll just throw things at you, if you can go, great. If not, don't worry about it. No pressure. So
Right.
this guy stuck with me for 10 years. And I got like little teeny things here and there, like $100 gig here and there, just to help me, put some food on the table while I was continuing on with my education. And then this came along.
Mm.
And my manager's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, are you kidding me? We were like, what? How'd that happen? I go, I don't know. Mother Earth threw me a lifeline. So I only have a manager, but then because the show I needed to do press, I got a publicist who I love. So we're the Three Musketeers. And so I don't read for anything because I'm in Canada.
Right.
And I'm on the show. So there's really no need to get an agent or anything else because my time is here on the show and I'm in contract. To answer your question about how many years, we have a 7-year contract, but each year they decide if they want to.
If they're going to renew it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So like we will be, we're filming till the end of April. And then we'll wait to see if we get picked up. So yes, keep watching and put lots of good vibes.
I'm sending the magic. Yes.
Send us magic and keep me employed. It'll be really fun. Yeah.
I would love nothing more than to see you for 7 years until you go to the next thing.
Next time you see me, I'll probably somewhere else because they kicked me out. The bird thing just a little too far.
Yeah, I think you might want to just tone that down just a little.
All day now, just like periodically. But I go out and I talk to Gilligan. We have conversations. We talk.
That's fine. That's acceptable.
Actually, as we speak, he's out there waiting for me right now.
Uh-oh.
He's staring at me. I see you. Hold on.
I'll be there in just a minute.
He's like my boys. Mom, pizza time.
Mine just stands off of my computer and just stares at me.
Yeah. They're staring at me.
So do my 3 dogs. They line up and they're like,
oh, if you see my Instagram, you saw my screensaver.
Right.
I'm in there brushing my teeth and the cockatoo's right here above me, chewing on a Q-tip, and the cockatoo has her toothbrush as well that she chews. So we brush our teeth together. I look over on my bed and there's the dog, the Rottweiler, next to the cat, like this, staring at me. And I'm like, what? What do you want from me? You already had breakfast. What do you want from me? And they're just like looking at me like, what now, Mom? Side by side. You got the cockatoo, both all the rescues. I love it. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing with the birds here, because I'm used to animals around me higher life. And all my children too, those 2 guys.
Oh yeah, have to include them with the fur babies and the feather babies and
the teenage babies.
So wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and I don't want to. It's just a good show. I love the show. Let me just tell you, you get 2 thumbs up for me.
Thank you.
And I loved it before I even knew I was going to interview you. So even better. So I'm not just sucking up.
You're not sucking up. Okay. Yeah. We don't want to do the suck up thing. Yeah.
Well, maybe you're sucking up a little, but.
Hey, listen, how about this? I'm coming back and you don't have to suck up. Okay. Because after this, what's about to happen, you're going to be back.
Okay, I will definitely.
It's yeah, I'm so excited. This show is just crazy.
It is. It's a. I mean, I thought, oh wow, he's out of the picture, and now and then I'm thinking they
Uh,
can't end it now. What's wrong with it? I know
it's
he's not going to end this now.
far from over.
Yeah. Oh no, 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 no. Believe me, I after last episode, I knew I was in for
Yeah,
even bigger.
I love that.
Yeah.
I say all my interviews, I might just buckle up because you're about
Right.
to go for a ride. Because every time I read this script, I go, oh, that's a good one. Because when I don't see it coming, and I'm kind
Mm,
of read it all and seen it all,
right.
well, with the pilot, when I
Mhm.
got to the end, I thought I was missing a page.
Oh, okay.
I went back and I was like, huh, I have a reading disorder. You probably read that wrong. Read
Right.
it again. And then I looked at page numbers and I read it again and I went, oh my God, no, you're not reading that wrong. That's how they ended the pilot. And I went, oh, buckle
Right.
up, Dee. You're on a crazy show. So you know when the actors are going to, am I missing a page? Or did I
Right.
read that wrong? did you just write that? Are we gonna film that?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's I love it, and I love seeing you so happy and joyful,
Thank you.
and wish you the best on everything, every level, and we will be rooting for you.
Yes, Denise,
Go
big
get them.
Tuesday night. Watch us, and you can find
ABC, ABC.
ABC. Oh yeah. Oh God, they're the people who avoid me. ABC, like Michael Jackson. ABC. And follow me on Instagram, Dedee
Yep.
Pfeiffer Official.
We'll have that also whenever we share this in an article. We'll have everybody follow, and they'll all have to like the ABC Big Sky Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
And I apologize now if I like follow you and unfollow you because you just say she still hasn't figured what the heck she's doing. Just know she has no idea what she's doing. I'm not taking that personal.
No, not personal at all. We just blame it on Instagram doing it. I know that's weird. They keep
Yeah,
doing that.
I can just blame it on like if I was home, I could blame it on my boys, and my boys do it.
Gilligan, jealous of you spending time with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you
So,
so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
beautiful day.
Okay, you too.